energy transmutation is all about excelling, okay? So today we're going to be reframing it as creational energy transmutation, just to get rid of the negative beliefs some people might have around the word sexual. Okay, so as you look at the screen, ethereal energy comes into the body through the solar plex, right? So as it comes in through the solar plex and transferred up or downwards to the chakra system, so either go up or either go down. Of course, it goes down and up simultaneously, and that's how we have our ethereal body, right? That's how we have our aura. That's how people's presence can be felt, and the bigger, the better. As we have this energy now coming through the solar, it goes down to the sacral and the root, whatever, right? At the sacral is where we have the energy transfer into creative energy, because that's what the sacral is responsible for. The sacral is also a representation of the sexual organs. It's represented by the color orange, as well as reproduction, right? So when two people get intimate with each other, that is where people connect at, right? So that's why it's so important to check your partner's energy, I guess, in that sense. Do they have any traumas? Because if they do, that sacral energy, that bright orange color, won't be so bright. Okay, so now creational energy transmutation is all about getting that energy to go from the sacral as you are being intimate with your partner or with yourself, somebody that you trust, somebody that you'd want to do it with one other person that is doing this with you, because the whole idea is that you both build the ethereal body, the energy around you, your aura, and build that system of making the creational energy go up together to experience a activation of the pineal gland. There's so many things that you could do with this energy, which I'm going to get into in a minute. But yeah, the idea is that you do this with a specific person. Some go as far as waiting till marriage to do this, hence why religion is so big on waiting till marriage. Makes sense, right? You want to just commit to this with one other person that you trust, that is going to be there to make your life magical, right? You don't want to just do it with somebody that doesn't even believe in this practice, because it will affect the charge that you both have, right? If one person is finishing and you're not, it won't be possible for you to experience the elevation unless they're doing it with you, right? Of course, there's going to be accidents, but the idea is that two people who are in the same mindset do it together for this to work, without climaxing, without orgasming. That's the whole point of this energy transmutation. Because as you're about to come to the end of your connection with another person or with yourself, instead of seeing that as an ending, it's a beginning, right? It's a beginning. So the more you come closer to the end, you're supposed to breathe into it and bring it all the way up to the sacral for willpower and strength, all the way into the heart for feelings and openness and acceptance and just receiving your manifestations, and bringing it up to the throat for speech and communication. You'll just gracefully be able to do this for singing, and then all the way to the eye, to the third eye and the crown, right? So you can see how much possibilities are in this practice, which is just don't climax. You can have intercourse with your partner who has to be on the same page. And remember, once you have this intimate bond with this someone, you are supposed to have that person for a long time, as in this is a practice that you commit to with another partner, right? Hence why hookup culture is here to destroy us, guys. Like, you don't understand how manufactured this whole sexual liberation thing is. The thing is, I didn't know where I stood in this whole situation for a long time, and I'd always have conversations with my friends like, I'm not sure, you know, like, I like to be an open thinker, but I'm really not sure how I feel about sexual liberation. I mean, I get it. We don't want to be monk-like with restrictions, So it's a step forward from that, but it's still not understanding the fundamentals of creative energy. We still don't understand what creative energy is, and we keep going on the surface without really understanding the bottom ground, right? The bottom ground is, it's not a sin. It is not something that's going to also make you feel more free and more intimate with people, right? But it is a tool that we have been given on this planet to literally make ourselves so much more powerful. But if we're not practicing this, it does not also mean that we're not powerful. Our baseline is, if you wanna do hookup culture, or be very open with your sexuality, like with who you interact with, and not see it as anything, that also technically is fine. But here we're talking about bringing ourselves to another level with this energy that we store in our uterus, in guys, I don't have the professional word for it, balls. So the whole point here is not to say something is wrong, but to say this is a tool that the Taoists use, or the great scholars have used, apparently, not too sure. So the ideology is, as you can see this fire, as you keep bringing it up, every single time you come to a climax, they do say to wait 24 hours between each session. So you shouldn't be trying to, bring it up too much, like within a day. Wait 24 hours, but also don't go too long without doing it, because this love hormone that you produce from being intimate with yourself or with others is literally what keeps the cell dividing, right? So now, if you can see this fire, the point is to keep adding heat to it. So the more you practice this, what you start to notice is that you are transmuting this sexual desire into a life force. You're making it a love for life, a love for craftsmanship, right? You are transmuting it into something so much bigger than just an ending, right? Instead of making this course of bond with somebody else just a quick story to an end, you want to see that as a beginning for a fire to start bursting out, right? You start with a candle and you keep adding desire into it, for life, for books, for running, for whatever desire you like, for curiosity, for looking after children. I don't know, so many things that people are interested in protecting humanity, and seeing in creating new technologies to evolve humanity, to work better with computers and machines, so that's the whole point of this practice. And there was one experiment that was done in the US where there was 25 couples, and the whole experiment basically was that they would live together in this community which some called culty. So basically it was an experiment that made sure that these couples were allowed to practice creational energy transmutation without climaxing, right? So the men were not allowed to climax, and the females also. It is a bit different for females because we don't have a secretion, but what we do have is menstruation, and of course we make an egg, right? So for us it's a bit different. Also, they do say that females are water and men are fire. So every single time a man climaxes, you are literally putting your fire out. Hence why we have a huge epidemic of men not feeling masculine enough and feeling the need to suppress women. For you to control that area, which, by the way, the more you do it, it'll be so bliss that, well, I'm not a man. Try it yourself. But there is a sense of, when you take a big breath out and big breath in and take that breath out, that sense of grounding, there is that. Okay, so a man that's grounded, that's peaceful, but talks with power and strength, because that energy is being transformed to the throat, to that willpower, your self-motivation. It's all on here on YouTube, so go check it out. But for females, we kind of, it's not that we still have to take this very seriously for it to work. We also have, you know, we also feel that desire to climax, right? But it's a bit different because we are water and we are fluid. So it's not necessarily, you know, don't secrete liquids because we naturally do that. So for us, it's more about practices of breath. So I did see one online today that was all about basically bringing your mind and your consciousness all the way down to your uterus, contracting your uterus, your vagina and your anus, and you basically contract that and you breathe into it and let it go. And that'll be a good practice to keep that organ, I guess, in flow with this. Not too sure, you're gonna have to kind of do your own research. Honestly, there isn't much on that either. Big issue. Anywho, back to the experiment. My point is, men are fire, and the more you do this practice, your little candle will turn into a sun, and everybody in the room, in the house, and in the blooming community will know your energy is powerful. For females, the more this is cultivated, the more safe she feels, the more fluidity, the more creativity, relaxation, and control. When one has a female really rules when she feels a sense of control over her body, you know, a sense of pride. It's okay to feel prideful over your uterus. It brings people into this earth. Take pride in it. So back to the experiment, and they did see some disappearance of illnesses, hormones in the blood that made them feel better. And then of course they eventually had children, and they stayed in that community because the bond was just so great. Good for them. Now, a quote from the Bible, just because. 21:8 Jeremiah, behold, I set before you the way of life and the way of death. And this is a really good one to mention, only because it says the way of life and the way of death. So it's a balance, okay? So it's a way of death if it's not used at all. Like if you are gonna go be a monk, the likelihood is, you know, that's not what we want. We don't want seeming retention 100%. We don't want that. We don't want a sense of control. We don't want a culty vibe. We don't want to go in that direction, only because you will have to do it at one point. You are human, you know, when you're making a baby and all that. And that bond, that love making that you do have from time to time with a special person, and if it does happen, it's okay. It's not the end of the world, because love is literally what makes the cell reproduce. It's what keeps us young, the fountain of youth. That's what it says. You're gonna have to check that. But yeah, it's the way of life and the way of death. In my ayahuasca experience, I did actually have this little vision. I'm not even kidding you. It was almost like I saw a bunch of people offering to let their secretions out, and it was tiring people. It was literally depleting their energy. And now I understand what it is exactly. I mean, I've been interested in Sexual Energy Transmutation for a while now, but I didn't know it was going to turn up in my ayahuasca experience. And, you know, the whole point here is, of course, not to be a monk, but to be very mindful who you're doing it with, and to make sure that this person is doing it for the same intentions that you're doing it. Don't climax. You need this energy. Understand that climaxing is not the purpose of being intimate with somebody in a sexual way. The purpose of being intimate with in a sexual way is to literally gain that energy. It's the beginning of something. You're birthing a fire. And you're gonna go away from that lovely intimate bond that you have with somebody without finishing. Of course, you can build. It has to be slow. It has to be slow now, because you have to control it. Of course, do whatever you want to do at the end of the day, but start slow. Start with lovely, affirming touch. You know, the fast, erotic, pornography way of doing intimacy is it's gone. Okay, it's time to move on and actually look at the foundations of intimacy. What is it for? Now we know what it's for. I would love to see the sort of creativity that could come from this if everybody was to practice this transformative tool with intimacy. Not one, you're literally building such a strong relationship with your partner or with yourself when you're transmuting creational energy. Understand that. Number two, you're moving away from this beautiful bond that you have with somebody else, and you're going to go use it on an activity, on a career, on an ambition. and you're birthing this fire and you're adding flames into it that you've just created from this creational energy transmutation by bringing it up. So as you nearly finish, you have to make sure that you kind of like stop yourself, move away, and say thank you, and basically breathe into it. And of course you're gonna feel that energy to move. You're gonna feel the need to, of course, finish if you're a beginner, but sooner than later your body's gonna know, okay, it's not an ending, it's the beginning to something. We have to go do something. And then that's when the beauty comes. You'll see your life transform. I think this is really, really beautiful. It is a Taoist practice, a yogi practice. There's so many traditions that actually practice this, because as we all know, secretion kind of makes us tired. So it's not new information. To someone who's listening to energy creational transmutation for the first time, it is going to sound bamboozly. Try it. Just try it with yourself. You know, feel, be intimate, be slow, and then as you nearly finish, stop and breathe into it. Bring that intense energy that you have at the bottom all the way to the sacral, to the heart, to the throat, to the third eye, and to the crown, and go outwards. You know, just and listen to your intuition. Your intuition will tell you exactly where to use that energy now. And what you become, just a transformation. It's great. And this also allows you to step away from hookup culture and actually really appreciate who you're with, and be very, very picky with who you want to be with, because you want to make sure that your sacral energy is cleansed. You don't want to be bringing trauma onto your body that does not belong to it. And two, you're inviting energies that are on the same frequency, that want to do this practice with you, that want to transmute and become a transformation of themselves and the community. And then of course it goes on to humanity. And you get to have a better bond with them. The more you do this, you don't even have to touch each other. Just be in the same room and you'll feel this ecstatic energy. You can feel each other's ethereal bodies from you don't even have to touch each other. Isn't that beautiful? Isn't that something that you want? That you don't even have to touch the other person to feel intimately connected with them? The passion will go crazy, and so you have to be you do have to control yourself in the beginning. But I hope this was helpful and fun to explore. There's so many topics on this everywhere on YouTube, so go ahead. But if you like this, subscribe and like the video so other people can see it and also have their lives transformed.